Hey everybody, I apologize for the title of of the uh, the live stream. I don't know how to change it. We did this last night, and it was actually pretty successful. I thought. For those of you that want to participate in an upcoming roundtable, um, you could, I guess, drop a note to Bobby or in support or whatever, and we'll try to get you in there. Thought it was pretty helpful. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through my baseball takes for today. Go through some numbers. I'm going to do DraftKings, do FanDuel, and then I'll probably have a little bit of time, so I may as well touch on NBA and hockey. And I dedicated an hour to this, so I'll totally hang out here for an hour. Answer whatever questions you guys have. Any technical issues, anything related to DFS, feel free to pop it in there. Again, I think Bobby's out for today. I don't know what's going to happen tonight about going live or anything like that. I have there's tennis going on, there's golf going on, there's LOL going on right now. I'm not paying too much attention to them. I'm just busy with other things, but I definitely am going to put aside some time to talk about the baseball and the NBA. So let's get into that. Just because K9 Bronco was first in with the what's up, we're going to give him a special treat today. And we are going to first look at FanDuel because just want to do him that solid on his it's not his birthday, but I'm going to pretend it's his birthday. Okay, so what I'll do is I guess I'm going to do it two different ways. I'm going to look at it from a hand built perspective, and then I'm going to also do some SaberSim builds to see what it comes up with. Because what I'm doing is FanDuel is taking two completely different approaches. I'm going to play 50 lineups in at $4.44. I mean, $4.44, and I'm also going to be playing one kind of hand built lineup in the qualifier and in the monster. And obviously, well, not obviously, but I approached both of them differently. So let's just take a look and see what I have for FanDuel just from the numbers. And then we'll talk about what we actually want to do with this. All right. So again, when you rank these things by all my value scores on FanDuel, you're going to get jammed in a lot of lower price pitchers. Almost always. I shouldn't say that almost always, but more likely than on DraftKings. But the thing is, and this is kind of an interesting DFS comment, is Bobby brings up a lot is, well, why? I mean, what are you saving the money for? In other words, if you can pay up for pitching and get those extra fantasy points, and you can still get the same hitting you want, I mean, why bother, right? Just to say you made a better points per dollar play. So if you do rank these by value, you're getting this Tyler Wells, but I don't really know what kind of upside he really has. He doesn't have a lot of I don't think he has any quality start equity here, and his strikeouts are not that great. So I think you could get a decent median out of it if in fact the hitting was of a type that you really wanted to jam in, and that's the only way you could afford it. But I don't think you need to. And then you're looking down at this next group like Jordan Montgomery and Paul Blackburn, same type of thing. They rate okay, but I don't know if you need that. The real question is, we're going to do DraftKings in a second because I think it's a little different over there. The real question is what you do with these kind of high projecting expensive pitchers, right? Carlos Carrasco, Dylan Cease, Kevin Gausman. those three are those are the ones that stand out on FanDuel. So that's probably where you should start. I don't know exactly how. I mean, I'm looking at this pitching ownership. I guess it makes sense. Dylan Cease maybe 20%. I guess the first thing I do, by the way, whenever I just double check my ownerships, I just want to make sure it adds to 100, or at least close to it, making sure that there's just not some gap in the collection of data, and that's happened sometimes. So when I see the sum of the ownerships being 98.8 on a one pitcher site, then I know that it's close enough. That I'll accept it. So I guess my first comments when you're looking at these is that, DFS 101, if you have Cease and Carrasco both projecting to have similar fantasy points, and I would argue they have similar range of outcomes as well. And one of them is going to be 12% or so, and the other one's going to be closer to 20. I guess the logic would be to go ahead and play Carrasco. That seems like DFS 101, right? So I guess that would be my first comment, is that to probably prioritize Carrasco over Cease if you're going to pay up for that pitching. Now, we haven't really looked at the hitting yet. I'm going to in a second. And then the next guy that you have to consider is Gausman, right? And the thing about Gausman is that I'm showing him at ownership at only about 10%, and so you have to respect that. So I would, in hand builds, for example, I would probably rate them. If you were going to use this opportunity to fade stuff as opposed to the hitting, which we'll get to in a second. I know it's bad form to eat when you're communicating, but I need this right now. All right, so I would say Gausman and Carrasco, and then Cease. And I would only play Cease with lower owned hitting options. That would be my initial instinct. Let me pull up the hitting and see. Not the NBA FanDuel. That's not what I want. I'm going to put up the FanDuel baseball. Hey, Rody. So just so you know, we're doing FanDuel first because K9 Bronco was here first. So the initial concept is fade Cease and play Carrasco or wherever the other 9,800 guy was. I already forgot him. This is what happens, you know. But I'll see it when I go back to it. Am I really that bad? Can I not remember two pitchers? Am I really that atrocious? Don't tell me, because I'm gonna have to go back. Just Gausman, sorry. So we look at the hitting, and the first thing I like to do on FanDuel when I rate them is to not worry about value at all, because you'd be surprised how often you could just play whoever you want on FanDuel. So the first thing I'll do is I'll rank these guys kind of by raw fantasy points, and what I have here is kind of a close call down the line, you know. Yankees rate to be the top, but not by too much, you know. So yeah, Yankees, Toronto, Boston, Chicago, Minnesota, very, very little variance, you know, between all these guys. I mean, to give you an example, when you have those Coors slates, you end up sometimes with the top stack being like a full 5 points higher than the next one. And if you think about this, the Yankees are only like 5 points higher than than the sixth best one here. So my initial thought is screw the Yankees and their 81% ownership, whatever, and give up a little bit and go for someone lower owned. I mean, the most obvious, at least for me, pivot would be something like Toronto. Then, but you could even do better than that. I mean, what I'm inclined to do, if you want to know the truth, is to do something like this and play San Francisco. You know, like talked about Carrasco being one of the options. But San Francisco, but Carrasco is going to be double-digit owned, so you get a little bit of direct leverage, but it's not going to be that high owned. So maybe it's not the greatest idea to play San Francisco, but that at least looks to me to be the first thing that I would want to try to do. Is probably try to fade the Yankees and just play anybody else. I mean, really. The other thing you could do if you really don't feel like playing San Francisco, I mean, look at all these. You can really play all these guys. You know, you can play the Nets. This. You know what? I think this is. Adam, you've been using SaberSim to kind of think what I'm getting at here. I think this is a good SaberSim site. I'm getting a third guy in here. I don't know what's going on. I got third Tyler Wells. I don't know what that is, but anyway. What if I did this? What would happen? I don't know what that is. The only thing I don't like about Boston, I don't think that you get much of a discount ownership wise. However, remember, Rody, you usually play the tournaments that don't really require those crazy hockey lineups, you know. So, with respect to FanDuel, that's probably what I would do, and I'll actually go back and build one because I still really need to. We'll do that afterwards. Well, you know, that's what we'll do. We'll kind of like revert back to it, I guess. So we'll go over the plays, we'll go over the approach, then maybe we'll go back and just actually build these things. This way, people don't have to wait that long for DraftKings if that's what we're waiting on. So let's take a look and see what DraftKings looks like. And to Adam's point earlier, you have Tyler Wells showing up as a very strong, point per dollar play. And the issue is the same, right? The issue is what are you gaining from saving that money? But I think the difference is, I mean, here it's close, even on a raw points perspective, the medians are pretty close. The only thing is that the ceilings are not close at all. Like Tyler Wells, what's he really going to get? If he really is lights out, he'll play, he'll go 5 innings, get the win, maybe. And remember, it's Baltimore. I mean, they're terrible. So he's got to pitch well enough to get through 5, and they have to win. And even if he gets like above average strikeouts for him, what are we getting? Like 20? I mean, 20 is a ceiling. Whereas, I mean, let's face it, Carrasco and Cease and Gausman, for that matter, they have, they really do have 30-point upside. So to just say that the median is the same, just go jam Tyler Wells, it's not exactly that easy. But on a 2-pitcher site, as Adam was getting to, especially on a site where you kind of need the salary savings to get the hitting you want sometimes, I feel as though that Tyler Wells makes a lot more sense over here. So So what I would do, I mean, again, I would really look at these things very similarly. Like, I look at Tyler Wells and Montgomery. They're both, are they the same? Not really. I mean, Jordan Montgomery can go 6 innings. It's not like he can't go 6 innings. His strikeout upside is not that great. Like 30% on Jordan Montgomery just seems like a whole bunch of trouble. I think that in hand builds, I think probably what you want to do is pick between these three guys. See if you can get two of these three in. I think, and then just see where it takes you. We'll get there. Paul Blackburn, he's not that bad, but I just, again, you talk about upside and things like that. I just don't think that he has that 20-point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. With the lack of strikeout upside, I think his median's fine, but I don't think the ceilings are probably good enough. And then the guy that, two other guys that you can consider are Joe Ryan and Tanner Houck. But to be honest with you, I mean, if this ownership on Joe Ryan is what it is, I just don't know if I can do that. I just don't know if I can do it, especially in the hand builds. Like if I run SaberSim and it gives me Joe Ryan with like a whole bunch of of zero hitters, whatever. Hey, that's fine. LFG, but just a hand built one and come up with Ryan is rough for me at least. And Tanner Houck, all right. So he would be a shot. Okay, I wouldn't mind trying that. So Tyler Houck at 7,800 at under 10% ownership against Toronto. Look, it's nobody said life would be easy, right? If he had a great matchup and he was 7,800, he wouldn't be 8% owned, right? So you can't have everything in this world, but so he is going to get. He does have shell potential against Toronto, but in a kind of a weird way, I'd rather play that than Jordan Montgomery. I can't. I think that makes a little bit of sense if you wanted to try that. Okay, let's take a look at the hitting. Okay, K9. I'm going to take a look at the hitting here. Let's see what this looks like. And let's do it the same way we did it for FanDuel, just for kicks. Let's just forget about value for a minute. Let's just say who's going to score the most fantasy points. See kind of what it looks like. And it's a similar thing, by the way, to FanDuel. Makes sense. I mean, you don't get a drop off until the first 5 teams are kind of thrown in there. 6 teams, as far as 17, as far as raw points. I mean, you can make the case of any of these: Washington, Yankees, Toronto, Boston, Arizona. I'm not going to play Arizona because I just have this thing against playing teams off of ceiling run outputs. Yeah, Rody, this is the thing. I mean, I would have no problem with that if and we'll look at the hitting and see what we really need. I guess if you want to play the Yankees, I guess, or Toronto or Boston, those are all pretty expensive. I guess that makes sense to pay down there. But if you're playing Montgomery and Wells with Yankees, I think you don't want to do that in MME type contests. I think that's very. I think that's more. You could play that in your qualifiers or something like that, right? And your smaller stuff. But I wouldn't do Jordan Montgomery with Yankees pretty much in much anything that above single entry. I think. But just for the hell of it, so it's Washington, New York, Toronto, and I'm looking at ownership here. I think that my favorite here would be probably Boston to start off with. Like if we could do it, right? I mean, forgetting about value for a second. Like if I could get Boston in, they project well enough with not a lot of ownership, so I could try it. And then when you look at it for value, and I talked about this last night in the stream, I mean, Minnesota continues to be cheap. And Minnesota, the cheap ones fit these whatchamacallits, those double pay up for pitcher builds. But again, just eyeballing this, the team that I think I really want to target in some stuff is the one that Adam just kind of brought up, and that would be Baltimore. You know, like when I'm looking at this, they're look, from a raw perspective, they're not great. From a value perspective, they're just kind of okay. But their ownership is so low that I might consider that. So what are we talking about here? So we're talking about if you wanted to pay up for those pitchers, maybe something like Baltimore. And then if you wanted to play stuff like Boston, which is the one that, right? Is that the one that I kind of identified? If you want to play Boston, you probably can't pay up for both pitchers. That's when you probably have to do something like Wells, but maybe you could do something like get a little bit of sneaky correlation with Boston and play Tanner Houck. How about that? Real sneaky, fishy correlation with Tanner Houck. Hey, give Boston some runs. Get Boston some runs right off the bat. Maybe they let Tanner Houck go 5-6 innings and get a win. Possible. You know, it's not the greatest correlation in the world, but it's not bad. So let's try it. Let's go back and see. Let me go into my DraftKings slide. I'll pull that up here, and then we'll see like what I could do. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm actually going to do it, right? So, wait, which one is this? This is the slap hitter. I'm going to pull up like the big one, just so I can see what this looks like. All right, so let's pull this over here. Hope this is working. Yeah. So we clear this up, and to give you an idea, so let's take a look at those two different ideas. Okay. First would be on DraftKings, and we'll go back to FanDuel again, is the double pay up for pitching and then going down to Baltimore. So that would be either Cease, Carrasco, or Gausman. Who did we say the lower owned of those are? Let's take a look again and see what that looked like. Gausman, I have him at about 15, a little less, so let's prioritize him a little bit. And then we'll have, I guess all these are very similar. So let's start with the most expensive to see how much we can really do. So Cease and Carrasco, let's just put them in there. Let's put in Cease and Carrasco and see what happens if then we just jam Baltimore and just. Now, before we even do this, I guess I may as well check the weather, right? Let's take a look before I totally commit to this idea here. Let's take a look at MLB weather. Okay, just the yellow. That should be okay. So let's take a look. So which Baltimore guys would I put? Now, one thing I promise you is that I should be able, if I'm going to do this, I should be able to get who I want. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have to say, boy, I want to play Baltimore, but I only want to play the cheap. I don't want to play the good Baltimores. I mean, that I'm not interested in. So let me just see what Baltimores I would play, actually. Let's see if that makes any sense. So let's put in Montcastle. put in, Mullins is down to 4K now. Santander, Hayes, and who's the last guy I have? Santander, Hayes, and Mancini. So you can play him in the outfield too. So you can't play them all because of eligibility here. But the fact of the matter is that all these guys are just so cheap. You know, let's see if any of these guys are multi-position eligible, so I can screw around here. Hayes, no. So the most I'm going to be able to play is, I think, is 4. Not that that's such a bad idea to only not play 5 Baltimores. But let's just see if I really want to be greedy. Let's put who would be the 5th one in? Is Robbie Grossman on this team? Or is he on a different team? Yeah, I can't even find a 5th Baltimore. So we're going to put 4 in. Is that Catcherstone Baltimore, that guy that used to be really good? No, he's not there anymore. Right, so let's put in, we played 4 Baltimores and paid for both pitching, paid up for both pitchers. It doesn't take a genius to see that you can jam in whoever, you know. I mean, you can play whatever Yankees you want, you know, or you can play Guerrero maybe. You know, you could do stuff. You can play Bichette and Guerrero if you want to do that. So Baltimore really makes the mare go, so to speak. If you do want to pay up for pitching, I think. Let's see what happens if we do something else. Let's say that we played the and this just to be hand builders. Let's presume that we're going to do a roadie build, and we're going to go Montgomery with Wells. All right, we're going to start with this, and we're going to look at this now. And so we got $4,000 billion to spend. Okay. I will say this. I personally don't like this idea today, only because I don't think the hitting looks that great. You know, from a raw points perspective, I just don't think it looks that great. So I don't know. So what you end up doing in a handbook thing like this, you end up wanting to fill in your salary, so you end up jamming in guys. You know, and what you would probably do. I mean, if it were me, I mean, I would go right to the top of the list, right, and look at the Toronto hitters, and I would just, you know, see how many of these bad boys I could cram in here. I mean, you get Gurriel. I mean, Gurriel at 3,800 and Toppy at 3,200. You know, you could really blast. And then if you want, like you were getting at, go ahead, go play Boston's too. You know, you can go play. It's like almost impossible to spend your salary, right? Guerrero's Story. Who else? I mean, who don't you want to play here? You know, so you could just pay up for all the hitting that you want if you play Montgomery or Wells. The only question is, I mean, do you really want Devers at 5,600, right? Do you really want Trevor Story at 5,300? Do you really want, you know what I mean? Because you're playing them, which is fine, but you know, you are giving up a good amount of upside with these pitchers. You know, Montgomery and Wells, it's very possible that they can have very reasonable games and get outscored by literally one pitcher. You know, like if you play Cease can get 30, as could, what's his name? Any of these guys, Carrasco. You know, I hate Carrasco, but look, I mean, look at it the other way. Like Cease doesn't exactly have the easiest matchup in the world, but he's going against Cleveland, right? Who just put up 10 runs, so maybe Cease could have a good game. My point is that I think that the upside you give up from Montgomery and Wells together might not be the idea. I'll tell you what my idea is. My idea is going to this thing is fading Toronto and making sure you fade Toronto by playing Tanner Houck in full leverage mode. And then taking your pick of your favorite You know what you could do? You could anti-game stack this game. How about that? Why don't you anti-game stack this and play Hal Gausman? I hope you get some like miracle wind situation in Boston or something. You get some umpire who's in a bad mood. The anti-game stack. That's probably leverage because I bet you there are going to be people that play both sides of this. I just created a lineup with that, right? When I paid down for both those pitchers, I went to all the Boston and Torontos. Before I leave, by the way, this double pay down for pitching, this double pay up for pitching thing, I want to try something else. I want to go back to Minnesota for a minute because I didn't lose enough money on them yesterday. I want to see what this looks like. The only reason is it's a really weird lineup from a salary perspective because you have a whole bunch of cheapos and then you have Buxton at literally 6,100. And you don't see that all too often. So I think it might make for something interesting here. And by the way, I think that Buxton is the perfect guy to get 3 home runs off of Greinke. Like Greinke's got a lot of tricks, whatever. But he's the kind of guy I think Buxton. So, you just throw me whatever crap that you want to throw me. Oh, the wind is blowing in, Kevin. Yeah, I just want to see what it looks like construction-wise. We don't have to play it, but doesn't this look like such a great 5-man stack, though? Doesn't this look like so much fun? Just to root for Greinke to just be finished. But he's never finished. He always gets there. I don't know. It feels good. But then, like you said, then Seno puts one up in the air and it gets tracked down by the wind and all that stuff. Well, I don't know. I kind of like this. So for me, I haven't decided which exact way I'm going to go, but it's going to go either probably two different builds, right? I'm probably going to play the Houck thing in something. The double pay up for pitching was going to lead me to either Minnesota or Baltimore. And then the Tyler Wells thing, if you play like one pitcher, that's the problem. You play one pitcher that's good, and then you play Tyler Wells, for example. I mean, then what do you do? I don't want to listen. I don't want to play the Yankees. Go play Washington. They might be. I got them pretty 0-2 though. So this is my problem with this type of build. I think this is going to be somewhat popular, even the Tyler Wells. I don't know how different I can get. So I think hand building is kind of a rough deal unless you want to do what I said, with the Tanner Houck thing, or doing something with Baltimore or whatever. And then what I'm going to do, just for fun, I'm going to go to FanDuel. I'll do the same thing, and then what I'll do is I'll do Saberson build and see how they're different. So let me see what I would do on FanDuel. It doesn't make too much of a difference, so let's edit this one just to give you an idea of what I could do. So when it comes to a hand built on FanDuel, again, I don't think I need to pay down for pitching. So it's going to be, who do we say? Carrasco, right? So we thought Carrasco would be the lower owned of Carrasco C, so that's who we want to play. Sounds fair enough. So let's play Carrasco. And then you have 31.13 per person. Yeah, the Hal Gausman reverse game stat. So Carrasco, and then let's take a look at the The stacks again. And what did we say? Oh, right. So San Francisco looked good, but then not when we're playing Carrasco. But then again, who says we have to do that? Maybe we could play Cease and then use San Francisco over here. Let's take a look at what this looks like again. Toronto looks fine. The White Sox looks okay. White Sox not bad. Maybe that's something you could do. So I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna see what it looks like to do San Francisco. Okay, we're not gonna play Carrasco. Yeah, that's what I was just doing. Considering Chicago. So instead of Carrasco, we'll play Cease over here. How about that? Because what we're going to do, because we're going ownership city over here, what we'll do is we'll play San Francisco in as a what we call it primary, whatever stack. Let's see what I would get. And then we'll do Saber Sim. You got time, it's 115, right? Yeah, okay. So that would be Belt, Yastrzemski, Crawford, Ruff. So let's put that in. You know, Belts, Yastrzemski, Crawford, Ruff. And you have 3150 a person, so you could go back to any of those teams that I kind of identify, but you're already off to a decent start, right, with the San Franciscos. But just in case, I mean, if you wanted to really make sure that you were different, let me just pull this up again. FanDuel stacks. Okay. I guess Chicago. So let's put these guys in. Let's see if we can get them all in. So Garcia, Grandel, Robert, Anderson, Abreu, Grandel. Let's see. Probably not because I have Belt over here. Let's just see what guys I can get. We can put Abreu in the wherever you call it. Leroy Garcia, really cheap actually. Louis Robert, stick him in the outfield. Third base, nobody. And then we have another utility, so we could put Abreu over here. And you could do this. This is pretty good, right? You get some correlation with the White Sox, with Cease. You have low-owned San Francisco's. You got 3 White Sox. You got 3,200. I can find a good third baseman somewhere, right? So this isn't bad. This is a good way to play kind of chalky pitching on FanDuel if you want to do that and make that work. But now let's see the fun stuff. Let's now build a wait. Who won this? Oh man, Unicorns of Love. They are so legendary. Unicorns of Love is just the best. I want to play them instead of any of these hitters. I want to play Unicorn of Love over Toronto, over the Yankees, over any of these people. All right, so let's do DraftKings first. I think I have everything in here. So let's do let's run one brand new. We will set it for 150 max because we're going to be whatever. We won't allow against opposing pitchers. And let's just run it. Let's see what kind of mood it's in right now. I hope you guys realize, when sometimes when I talk about these algorithms like they're people, like sometimes they're in a bad mood, sometimes they're mad at you. I'm just trying to be somewhat lyrical. That's the best I could describe it sometimes. So everyone want to take a guess. Let's see. So DraftKings, we will Okay. So if I ran 150 on DraftKings, I'm getting 35% of cease, which that I'm not surprised about. Of getting a full 25% Blackburn, that's a little surprising. 25% Carrasco, 24%. So it's really it's really giving me like a whole bunch of different pitchers. But actually less than I thought. I usually get a little more. Maybe there are more actually. I'll get to them later. And then if I was going to play 150, actually the White Sox would be the highest owned. So that would be somewhat interesting. Now here's something that's kind of fun. This is a little SaberSim trick. So when you're running with 150, I'm getting 27% White Sox, 26% Mets, 26% Red Sox, and then 20% Tigers. But if I make it 30, now all of a sudden, and this is not, doesn't take a genius to figure out why this is, right? But now I'm only getting 13% White Sox. And now I'm getting 53% Mets. And for those of you who haven't figured it out yet, the reason why those two things are the case is because the top lineups of those 150s are more likely to be Mets ones than the White Sox ones. So even though across 150, a greater percentage of them are White Sox stacks, the higher Saber score ranked lineups are going to be the Mets stacks. So that's why that interesting little thing happens. Now just for Opal, also I will double check to see player exposure to see if there's any real wild outlier. No, I don't see. I wouldn't see that. I would see McNeil would be the top guy, which makes sense because mostly Mets, whatever. Okay. And with respect to what changes I would make out of this, I might trim some Blackburn for no other reason. Discalfini, I didn't even have projected. I may have. I'm not even sure. Oh, I did. I don't know, with 11 fantasy. I keep everything else though. I wouldn't screw with anything else. On a SaberSim build, you know, like you see Tanner Houck at like 6%, right? I wouldn't then try to like not double count, just double down on my take. In other words, like when I look at something from a hand build perspective, I say, okay, I think Houck might be a really good pivot or whatever it is. I don't want to then go to SaberSim, run the SaberSim, and then say, boy, why are they only at 6% of Tanner Houck? I better up that. These are two totally different methods of analysis, right? I would just presume that the 6%, like the two lineups that I have with Tanner Houck, would be just the equivalent of my one or two lineups with Tanner Houck that I kind of was like kind of in the mood to play. So I'm not going to then just say, ooh, maybe I need more Tanner Houck. I would just say that, like, you know, that's just what it is, you know, and that's how MME is kind of different, I think, than in hand building. So let's now go to FanDuel, do the same thing. Got plenty of time. It's 12:45. Doesn't start till 1:15. I'm probably going to leave at 1 to actually make these lineups. Now at FanDuel, let's build these. I already have the projections in. We'll do the same thing. We'll do 150. Nothing changing. Looks like SaberSim might be in kind of a bad mood. Doesn't feel like building me any more FanDuel lineups. Well, let's try again. Let's confuse it. Let's go to the one that's sitting on hockey and reload my FanDuel, and then just rebuild these again. How about that? I'll trick you. How about this? Bang. Okay, let's try it. There you go. See? I had kind of a run in the NBA last night, actually. We'll go over that maybe later. All right. Okay, so when you run it with FanDuel, it gives you, first of all, pitching. All this just kind of just looks normal, right? Cease, Carrasco, Gausman, and then just kind of sprinkles throughout everybody else. Makes sense. And with 150 with stacks, about, again, 50% Mets, and then kind of a drop down to San Francisco, Toronto, White Sox. And then if instead we go 30 lineups, then it gives you even more Mets. So what we're seeing here is that given everything else, is given ownership, given whatever, the Mets, according to the algorithms that SaberSim is running, looks to be probably the best leveraged type stack. That would be my lesson from this. What I'm doing, by the way, today is I'm doing a total mix of approaches. I'm going to be playing like a bunch of lineups in the $4, and then again one kind of one hand built in a couple of bigger ones. I'm going to just put this into FanDuel right now. Let's CSV edit. I do have to change my big ones, but for now, let's just do this multi-entry thing, which seems to make sense to me. No issues with any of this. But I do have to go. I will have to do the hand-built ones in a minute. But let's, for now, upload that to FanDuel. And I'll do the same thing with DraftKings. So I mean, this process of mine, again, like I hope I went through it in depth, because again, the part I kind of glossed over, only because there wasn't too much to gloss over here, was the Xing out and the guys I didn't like. But I honestly don't have much of an opinion on any of this today. I mean, I nothing really stands out as being, boy, I got way too much of this or way too much of that, whatever. Sometimes I do, and I'll just, I'm allowed to have an opinion, right? So I would go ahead and, and fix it or tweak it. But today, I don't know. I'm just kind of chilling, as the kids may or may not like to say still. Speaking of that, I'm actually going to the Yankees tomorrow. I'm going with my mom, actually. Let's go. The Yankees versus the Guardians. Fill the MMEs out, and then I do have to do these hand builds a little differently. I think I'm going to save them for now, but then we'll. Then I think what I'm going to do for the next 10 minutes, just in case we don't do anything live, I want to take a quick look at the NBA. But before I do that, I want to see how are these things doing. Hold on a second. Check on a couple of lineups going on here in another sport. Hold on. Yeah, that's a little bit annoying. Okay, 1 sec. Wow, that's pretty badass. So this, so this, I don't see this too often, Adam. I think that the support. Oh, it wasn't. I thought support was almost the top scorer. No, it wasn't. Okay. Wow, that would have been sick. Okay. Let me look at the NBA real quick. I really didn't look too much at it yet. I just really just ran the projections. What terrible value we play? Oh, God, there's 0. Oh my God, there's like no value at all today. Wow, good luck. Sick. Oh my God, what a tough NBA slate this is going to be. Men from the boys, so to speak, huh? And herein lies the question, right? Do you get rid of the studs, or do you just play just atrocious value, just eating it like the equivalent? Ooh, we're gonna get to that in a second, Adam. The equivalent of just playing your 0 relief pitcher, playing your like 0 3K guy, play Jeff Green, like for example. You know, it's probably a good play. Now that I just kind of just throw it out there, just out of nowhere. Jeff Green. Who else is a terrible play? Like Jaden McDaniels, like guys like that. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, actually. Um, just because I threw it out into the atmosphere, as Bobby would say. What does the showdown schedule look like for today? By the way, I don't think I'm gonna be. Well, I shouldn't say that. I guess I'm gonna do it. I don't know if I'm gonna be around. I might. I might be around for the 6:40 slate tonight. I'll definitely put up something projection-wise at like 3. 3? It can't be a 3. It's got to be like a 2, which means that's like in an hour. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? I'm going to try. What kind of showdown slates do we have here? We got a bunch of them. So we got. You want to do this? You want to have some fun? All right, let's do it. Let's build a Minnesota KC showdown slate, and let's start with And this is kind of cool because KC's got a decent decent bunch of relievers. Ooh, we got to look at that. Want to do this? 12:55? Probably a bad idea. Yeah, I can't do that. All right. So I hope this was helpful. Good luck, everybody. I'm gonna go build the rest of my lineups, and I will then get back to work. And I might see you guys later. If not, good luck.